Ask and you shall receive is something that you hear over and over in any faith walk, in any religion. And I believe that visualization and manifesting thing is a prayer and fast forward. It's thinking about the positive things that you want to bring into your life. It's making the most of this blessing and gift of a life that you've been given. I do not believe that it is my power alone that's looking at something on a vision board and bringing something into my life. I believe that God's hand is in everything. So that would be another tip on visualization, is inviting your faith walk to be married to that. And I believe that visualization is so powerful for me because I do that. Hello and welcome back to the Living Fully podcast. I am pumped for today's episode because I am answering some Q&A questions that you guys have submitted on life in general. So we've got some deep questions, we've got some fun questions, we've got some questions just like as life updates. And I'm really excited about this episode because it is like having a conversation with a friend in my living room whenever I do these types of episodes, because I feel like you guys are a part of it. And so let's just dive right in. So thank you to everybody who submitted questions, by the way. These questions always blow my mind and really make me think about things. So I appreciate that. So question number one is, what is something you look forward to as you get older? That is a really great question, because I think as women, sometimes we dread getting older because we as women are so attached to the way that we look, and that inevitably changes. I think that too, as a parent, and I've shared this on podcasts that you guys have already listened to, as a parent myself, I dread my children getting older for some reason, because it feels like there are phases of life that are so special and magical and pure, and I feel like those phases a little bit are slipping away as my children get older, because they're not toddlers or babies anymore. So I think a lot of times as women, we think about the things that we dread as we get older. So I really like this question of what I look forward to as I get older. And I think that something certainly that I look forward to is the future of mine and Kyle's relationship, because I have a better relationship with my husband now, being married for 7 years and together for well over 10. I have a better, richer, I love him more today than I did when we were dating. And I think that is rare. And I think it only comes sometimes from going through hard things together, which Kyle and I have. Kyle and I dated when I was in active addiction, and we've been through a lot of ups and downs together. And we, clung to the helm of the ship, and we just were in it together. And we've done therapy together, and we've just really chosen each other in our relationship time and time again in our lives. So I'm really excited about the future of our relationship as I get older and growing in that. I'm excited to see who my kids become. As a parent, I think it's the greatest experiment that you don't know if it went right or wrong for 10 years. It's like a cicada. It's until it comes out of the ground. You don't know again. So I think that I'm excited to see who they become. And also in the work realm, because I really love what we're doing here. As I get older, I love building companies, and I'm really excited to see what some of these companies get to as I get older and wiser as a businesswoman. I also look at my mother, who is 67 years old, and she is just the queen of fashion and looks beautiful all the time. And a lot of times we cling to our youth and we want to look a certain way. And I will not say that I don't do that. But I'm excited about aging gracefully because I have an example in my mom. And I think that that's something that is both scary as I think about getting older, and something that I'm excited about. And so that is what I am looking forward to as I get older. Okay, next question. Talk about your love of fashion. You dress so boldly and your style matches your personality perfectly. Any fashion advice? So my fashion advice is find your own personal style and let that grow with you as you age or as you go through different life phases. I think that so many people just, wear what's in, or they get stuck in a style rut and they don't really think about fashion as an extension of who you are. I do. And I get excited about the things that I wear because I feel different in particular things that I wear. I feel different in a sequined caftan than I do in a pair of leggings and a t-shirt, And I think that the way that we express ourselves in the world and the fun that we can have with fashion is something that people maybe like count out, or they think like, I don't know my personal style, or they just are intimidated by. But my suggestion would be to look at your wardrobe and look at the times that you have felt your best and think about what you were wearing. Was it about the color? Was it about the fit? Was it about the jewelry? And I bet it's easier to think about, the fashion that you feel the best in and figure out what your personal style is. And then just having fun with it. And there are things that I wear that are against every fashion rule and faux pas. And, something that I feel like I've never done is I have never thought to myself, like, what's everybody else wearing at the party? I don't think about that a lot. I think about like, what do I want to wear to the party? Because if I'm overdressed or underdressed doesn't necessarily enter my mind as much as like, do I like what I'm wearing and do I feel good in what I'm showing up in? And like I said, I feel like fashion is really an extension of my personality, but it also like lifts my personality because I feel better in certain things that I wear. So yeah. That's what I feel about fashion and why I'm happy to have two businesses that are in fashion. I mean, with Living Fully Co., we wanted to create a sweatshirt line that was an extension of the way that people feel around holiday season. And we wanted to be a part of your holidays. And we wanted to wear a big old turkey on a shirt and a big Santa Claus face, like in being in your moments, like your special holiday intimate moments. And fashion can be just such an extension of emotion in a lot of ways. And I feel like that's kind of what Living Fully Co. and In My Sundays were born from. In My Sundays, the same thing. I wanted women to have the opportunity and the experience of wearing a luxury pajama because I knew what I felt like when I put on a pair of pajamas that cost me $158. And I was like, women are not going to spend $158 on pajamas, maybe ever in their life. For good reason, but I want them to have that same product at a more affordable price point because of the way that I feel in this piece of fashion. I even think pajamas can be fashion. And then the fun designs, that we do on all of these pieces, it is part of my love of fashion. So I'm really grateful to have both of those lines because I'm very passionate about what I wear. Oh gosh, that's a good question that I probably need to really think through. How do you stay on track when you do so many things? I feel like I'm now needing to manufacture the irons because we've got so many irons in the fire that I just need to own the iron business. I think that you can be two types of people. You can focus on one thing or you can be multi-passionate about a lot of things. And I am certainly a person who is multi-passionate. Y'all know if you've been following me for a long time that when I started in this space 8 or so years ago, I started as a beauty YouTuber, then went into fashion blogging. Then I went into a little bit of sharing my story and dipping my toe into the motivational waters. And even before that, I came from reality TV and doing beauty pageants. I then went into writing books and really building an online community that we built Living Fully Co. and In My Sundays from. And I personally really love having a lot of different things. But balancing all of those things is hard because I can't obviously do 100% of all of those businesses because there truly aren't enough hours in the day. But when you have so many different businesses that are big businesses, you are needed for parts of those. I am the creative behind a lot of these businesses and the design and the ideas and stuff like that. I've got a really amazing team, but I am needed a lot of times. So I think that constantly revisiting my priorities and like making sure that us as a team together have the same priorities and that we're reprioritizing the things that are important to us and unfortunately cutting out the things that are not. That is how we balance doing a lot of things. And I also have really great women that work for me and that are part of this team. And I think that a lot of times, like, I just didn't want to hire more people because I liked having a really small team. But doing a lot of things, you have to have a lot of great people around you and people that are smarter than you in a lot of ways. So I think that that is one way that I do a lot of things. Workout tips. Oh, okay. I've talked about this since the dawn of time, that whenever I've been trying to get in shape, whether it's for a pageant or for Amazing Race or for my wedding or postpartum, I walk up an incline treadmill at about 3 to 3.1 speed between a 12 and a 15 incline. And that is my predominant workout. I do very little like lifting, minimal, like arm weights, leg weights. I'm actually doing like none of that right now. But walking on that treadmill, here's why I'm going to give you that as a workout tip. Because walking on an incline treadmill is so much more than a physical exercise. Walking on an incline treadmill for me is a mental exercise. It is something that clears my mind at the beginning of my day. I'm able to prep for podcasts and take phone calls and just really think about the type of day that I want to have, the things that I want to prioritize in my life. And that is a workout tip, is just to get out and walk, because not only is it good for your body and you can get in some pretty amazing shape doing that, but it's also good for your mind and your soul. Okay. How do you deal with negativity and keep going in hard seasons? I talk about this a lot, and I feel like a lot of us don't realize that we have the ability to change the way that we think. Neuroplasticity is a real thing, and the ability of the brain to change is a real scientifically backed thing. There are so many people that are born in so many different situations, and I think that we all have a brain that is a certain way. Then we all grow up in a household that is a certain way, and then we all become a person who is a certain way. And a lot of people will continue being that person. Maybe you're a negative thinking person, a pessimistic person, a person that's just really down on yourself all the time, and you will exist that way until the end of your days. But I also do believe that you have the power to change the way that you are. And if you are a negative thinker or a person who is really hard on yourself and does not show up confidently in a room, it's not an easy thing to shift the way that you are, because those beliefs can be so deeply ingrained in us that it can be like pulling teeth. But I do believe that you have the ability to change if you are a negative thinking person. And I've said this before too, and I'll touch on it again, that I believe that you can become addicted to negative thoughts. And I believe that you can become a part of a conversation that is always negative. You're always sharing the things that are going wrong. You're focusing on, you're thinking about, you're dreaming about all that's wrong in your life instead of all that's right in your life. And what you focus on, you will create in your life. You've heard it a million times, but it is so true. And it is something that I will say over and over and over again, because it is something that is in your control, and it is something that is paramount to living a happy life. Okay, next. How do you balance family and work? I think that it's a constant thing, and as your family shifts and your business shifts, if you have a business that does shift, you have to constantly reprioritize things. And one way that I personally really balance family and work is I have a husband who is the primary child care and is taking care of our family during this time. So when I feel a lot of guilt and heaviness in working a lot, but like everyone has to work, and I love, love, love what I do, I think that I constantly can go back to the fact that we have the privilege and the blessing of being able to have a parent that stays home with the kids and help around us. But Kyle is the primary child care and the source of, everything that our kids need right now. So that helps me to balance it, because when there is imbalance, at least they are getting a parent. And I know that we are very fortunate for being able to do that. But, I always say in life, you have to go back to your priorities in your personal life and in your business and in so many things. And my family is my priority while my children are young. So I think revisiting that and making time for special things during the week is one way that I balance that out in busy seasons. So we're in, we're coming into the summer, and something that I prioritize and I always try to do is this farmer's market that we like to go to on Tuesday night as a family. Something else that I like to prioritize, especially coming into spring and summer, because I like to cook, is making sure that I'm cooking for my family at night and being present, like whenever I come home. Something else, Sunday has this little like class on Wednesday mornings that I just really try and block off those things in my schedule and make those things a priority when work is inevitably a lot. So that's how I found balance. And then also just forgiving yourself when you get out of balance. I think that that's another thing that's really important in balancing family and work, because we're going to get it wrong over and over, and then we're going to get it right, and not staying in the space of just beating ourselves up over getting it wrong, and focusing on how do we get it right. Tips on visualization. Okay, my first tip is, if you're a person that's never done it before, do not count it out. Okay, so that's tip number one, because I think it's a really powerful thing that you have access to a really huge game changer that can truly be done with your own brain and your own power. So that's the first thing that I would say about visualization, is believe that it can work for you, or at least give it a chance. The second thing that I'll say about visualization and tips on visualization is, instead of just on December 31st or January 1st, sitting there with 10 magazines and a poster board and just flipping through, and in 3 hours slapping the pictures that you like onto this board, I would say my tip on visualization is to really think about what are the things that you want to bring into your life. Why are these the things that you want to bring into your life? What are the categories of your life, and what are the things that you want to bring into those specific categories? I would say you really need to be thinking about that before the visualization piece starts. So then when you get to the magazines, you know what you're looking for, and it's not just like some random thing that your mind is drawn to. Now, I do believe that that's part of visualization, because I think that there are things we hold in our subconscious that we're drawn to that represent something in our brain that you can just find randomly flipping through a magazine. But really thinking about those things is a tip that I have for visualization. So I write a lot about this in my second, like the gift book that I did, All In. But you can I have categories on my vision board, because vision boards are a part of visualization for me. And I have categories that's like family, business, personal life, home. Like, there are sections on my vision board, and I used to just kind of like put things at random, and I used to fill it like to every single bit of white space was full. And I knew that something that I was starting to want to visualize in my life was simplifying my life and having some open space. And Tara Swart helped me a lot with this, who is like my queen of visualization and manifesting. And she's also a psychologist and a person that studies the brain and is very, very smart. She is a professor at MIT too, and she just does a lot of work around this. She was like, hey, if you want that simplification and that space in your life, you're going to have that in what you're visualizing. And I was looking at a vision board that was jam-packed full. So a tip on visualization is, even the visual representation needs to look the way, not just include the things, but look the way that you want your life to feel. And then something else, with visualizing, I write in a journal every night. That's something that I started doing again at the beginning of the year. And I look back over my day, because I'm writing a gratitude list at the end of like the journal entry. And I visualize all the things that I was like really grateful for in the day, but those are all the things that went right for me. So I re-visualize things that have already happened to me. And that's another tip that's kind of new with visualization that I've started to do. So yeah, and I also, you know me, and I'm a very faith-filled person, and I get bummed out when people want to say that like visualization is something that is like not of God, and I just disagree with that. I appreciate and respect everyone's opinions, and think we can all have different opinions. But my opinion is that, ask and you shall receive is something that you hear over and over in any faith walk, in any religion. And I believe that visualization and manifesting thing is a prayer and fast forward. It's thinking about the positive things that you want to bring into your life. It's making the most of this blessing and gift of a life that you've been given. I do not believe that it is my power alone that's looking at something on a vision board and bringing something into my life. I believe that God's hand is in everything. So that would be another tip on visualization, is inviting, your faith walk to be married to that. And I believe that visualization is so powerful for me because I do that. Okay. What got you into pageants? Will Sunday do pageants? I don't even know if pageants will be around by the time Sunday gets to pageants because they seem to be dwindling by the day. I mean, back when I did the Miss America system, it was really in its prime and it was something that was so special and amazing. And, my wish is that pageants would stay that way. But the reality is the world changes. And I'm okay with the world changing. And I appreciate that I got to do pageants back when pageants were really amazing, and that they opened a lot of doors and gave me a lot of opportunities that I would not have gotten had I not participated in the Miss America system. I got into pageants because I had a talent of singing, and I never was interested in pageants. My sister did county fair pageants and different types of local pageants in our community, and she was always the pageant girl. I would MC them or like sing at the talent show or as the entertainment between the segments. And one day my dad was just kind of like, you should be Miss Kentucky or you should be Miss America or something. And we were in the car driving and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'd never done a pageant in my life. I would not know the first thing about like how to walk, or I'd never owned a formal that I hadn't worn to prom. And so it was an interesting journey for me because it wasn't something that like I grew up doing or wanting to do. But when I started looking it up after we had that conversation, I realized talent was 35% of the score. And talent was like my strong suit. And I knew that I had a good talent and that my score would be really good in that category. And then I saw interview was 25% of the score at the time. And I knew I could probably have a good interview because I was outgoing and I knew how to talk to people and speak on stage. And I thought to myself, like, I can figure out the swimsuit portion and how to walk in a dress. So that's how I got into it. And I learned as I went, and I did not know what I was doing. And I think right around the time that I participated in pageants in 2007 to 2010, I think that more authentic pageant winners were kind of like rising to the top and were winning. 10 years ago or 10 years before I'd competed, it was really polished winners and people who had been in the system a long time that used to win the titles for the most part. And I was definitely very fresh and out of the box and in a lot of ways different than a lot of the pageant winners in the past. And a lot of people don't realize that the pageant system that I competed in, or at least the state that I was competing in it in, Kentucky, I was employed by the Department of Agriculture, and I worked for the state of Kentucky, traveling and speaking to schools, and I was a paid representative of my state, and it was a huge opportunity for me, and it opened major doors for me. And when people ask the question of like, will I let Sunday do pageants? I will let Sunday do what Sunday wants to do. If she wants to play basketball or dance or do pageants or play football, I guess. I mean, she can do what she wants to do. Will I push her into pageants? No. I will go where she leads me. I'm not opposed to her doing pageants because if pageants have the majority of what they had back when I participated in them, they are a very positive influence on a woman's life. So, yes, I would let her do a pageant. What are mine and Kyle's Enneagrams? So Kyle and I are 3 wing 2s. So if you don't know what the Enneagram is, it's a personality test. There are 9 different types, and the 3 is the achiever. And each of the types, you can be a good version of that or a bad version of that. So when I think of myself as the achiever back, when I was really struggling in my life and where I was really trying to outdo my last achievement and feeling totally worthless when I didn't and disappointed in myself. And then, I spiraled out of control and active addiction, just really lost because I was so addicted to achievement that I almost crumbled under the weight of it. That was the bad version of me as the achiever. Now I'm obviously in a healthy part of my life and in a good version of being the achiever where I'm building positive businesses, and I have a great team of women that work with me, and we've got these amazing businesses that I'm so grateful to have some of you guys buying product from, and that is the good version of the achiever. Now the wing is the 2, and I'm saying this, I'm telling you the 3 wing 2 because it so happens that Kyle and I are both the exact same Enneagram and wing, which is so rare. There was like an Enneagram coach that I talked to on a podcast. It was like, that is very, very, very rare to marry the exact same Enneagram and wing. And what's really cool about that is you can be the power couple of power couples and be the absolute best couple that there is, but you can also be kind of like each other's worst enemy, like when you're in the bad version of your Enneagram or wing. And, Kyle and I have been both of those states, and we're in just a really good state and have been for several years. But the 2 wing is the helper. So the helper is someone that wants to help others and help others achieve and succeed and just really serve other people. So some like notable 3-wing 2s are people like Oprah or like Tony Robbins, I think is a 3-wing 2. They are like big motivators that have built big businesses around motivating and helping other people. But like the achiever piece of them makes them build these huge businesses, I feel like. So there are also some really bad 3-wing 2s that are kind of not people that we want to mention on the podcast, but that have taken that in a different direction. But yeah, we're 3-wing 2s, which is the achiever and the helper. And I think you can take like free Enneagram tests online to see what you are, but they're really eye-opening and really cool to know what you are. And if you have people that you work with or that you're friends with or that you're dating or maybe your kids, I think also, there's a lot of material online about how to deal with certain types of Enneagrams and wings when they're in good states and bad states. And I think that it's really good information just to have. So, good question. Oh, best piece of advice you have for moms. Oh, Lord. I feel like I say different advice at different points in time. And I think that sometimes I give myself the advice that I need the most. I do believe that we were given the children that we were meant to have in life. And as children, we are given the mothers that we are meant to have in life. And I believe that there are mothers that have challenges and there are kids that go through challenges. There are people that have their moms for not a long time. There are people that have their moms their entire life. But I do believe that we're given the ones that we're meant to be given. And so in the days that I feel like I'm not doing a great job as a mom to Ford, Shepherd, and Sunday, I do remember that in the back of my mind that I was chosen to be their parent. And what I'm giving them is what they need. And the times that I correct myself when I feel like I'm doing things wrong is a correction that they need to see, and an example of a mom that is continuing to strive to be a good mom is what these kids were meant to see. So my advice is to remember that, but also as a person who, I used to be the perfectionist of the perfectionists, and I used to be really, and I still am sometimes, really afraid of disappointing people, and I carried a lot of guilt over not doing things right. My advice to moms and my constant advice to myself is to focus on what I'm doing right instead of what I'm doing wrong, because I think that can change the energy in the entire household. And I think, lastly, a piece of advice that I have for moms is I think moms are the pulse of the family a lot of times, and they set the tone for the energy in the house. And when I walk in my door, even if I've had a stressful day, I really, really try to not carry that into the home of my children. I certainly don't try to brush it under the rug and act like something's not going on when it is going on, but I do try to not let it bleed into every aspect of me being a mother, and I try to not let it distract me from being a present parent. So my advice to moms is remember that you are in the memories and you are the pulse of the household, and you kind of you are the barometer of the household. So remember that. It's not just like us living our own lives. It's us living in a way around others that we are raising that is really important. So that would be advice that I would give to moms. And like that you're probably doing a lot better of a job than you think you are. That's another piece of advice I'd give to moms. Okay, I'm going to answer 2 more questions. There's so many great questions. Oh my gosh, this is the best question that was asked. And this is going to be a really hard one for me to answer. Would you rather go 5 years back or 5 years forward? That is a really hard question to answer as someone who loved my life 5 years ago and is really excited for where it's going to be in 5 years. And honestly, I've been asked probably 10 million questions in my life, and no one has ever asked me that question. And that is a really great question. So I firmly believe that you should not dwell on your past, but here's a distinction that I want to make. You should not dwell on the bad in your past and carry in the things that you've overcome maybe into like your daily life over and over. So when I think about like going back to my past, there are things that happened to me 5 years ago that I would love to relive. Like, I think the best 3 years of the best 3 days of my entire life are the 3 days that I spend with a newborn baby in the hospital. I would love to go back 5 years ago, and like Shepherd would be the one 5 years ago, to spend like those 3 days in the hospital. But honestly, 5 years into the future, how awesome to see what is going to happen 5 years in the future. I know that there are going to be hard things that happen within the next 5 years. And I know there are going to be really incredible, amazing new things that happen in the next 5 years. And while I say it would be really nice to go 5 years into the future, I do not want a crystal ball, because it's why, like, a lot of people like see psychics and stuff like that. I don't want to see a psychic because I don't want to know what's going to happen 5 years in the future, because I really love, of all of the emotions and the feeling, one that I think is the most powerful is hope. And I think if you know what's going to happen, you're not going to have that hopefulness and that anticipation and that excitement. I say it all the time. I think a lot of people think that they're going to feel the joy when they get into the house or into the marriage or have the baby. I love so much the excitement and the anticipation of what's to come. And so, gosh, would I rather? Yeah, I would like to visit some things 5 years ago and live them again, because, gosh, there's so many amazing moments of life that have happened that I would just love to go back and visit. And I would love to be in the moment of the good things that are going to happen in the future. But honestly, I might not go 5 years into the future, because I don't want to know what's going to happen, because I like living in the present. It's something that was actually really hard for me to learn to do, is to live in the moment, because I'm always a person that wants to do more and be like 10 steps ahead. But I don't want to lose the hope and anticipation of what happens in the present moment. If you already know what's going to happen in 5 years, you lose that. So I really love that question, and I think that that's a really great question to ask yourself, because I think it reveals a lot, and it just made me think a lot. So thanks for that. What motivates you? I have so many life goals, but I don't know where to start. Super, super easy. Life motivates me. I love living life, and I'll tell you exactly where to start. Right now, today, with something. So 8 years ago, like I said, I was a beauty YouTuber. Had I thought to myself, I've got to have a website figured out and the right camera and the right everything, I never would have started, and I never would have built the humongous things that I have been able to build in the last 8 years, because I started with that thing. Was that the exact right, perfect thing to start with? Lord knows. I don't know. But starting with something is what I would recommend to you. Everyone, if you are a person that has a lot of ideas and life goals, you need to thank your lucky stars that you feel that in your brain and that you wake up with ideas and passions. Do not stand in your own way of thinking that you have to have things figured out before you can move forward with those passions, because they will die with you in the grave. So just move forward with something, start something, move forward with one of your passions. And you know what? If it's not right, you're going to know that it's not right probably fairly soon, and move on to the next one. But get started. That is my advice there. How did you know you were ready for kids? I don't think anyone ever knows like when they're ready for kids, because you've never had kids, so you don't know what life with kids will be like. I know that in my relationship and the age that I was, I knew that we were going to have kids soon, and you never know how long it's going to take. So I think that we felt as ready as we could feel, and then we just rolled with it. And that's what I do with a lot of things in life. I just jump into the water, and I just hope it's the right temperature for me and that I remember how to swim. And I'm really glad that we started having kids when we did, because it was the right thing for us. Okay. How to live fully beyond comparison when it's so easy to compare on social media. Okay, I had a really wise person tell me, and you guys have heard me say this before, but it is not so much the competition of competition that is going to be detrimental to you and living your life and what you're going to do. It is the distraction that is that competition. You used the word competition, but I will just say of the people that you are following, of what you are consuming. And if you've become so distracted by people around you on social media, and if that comparison is becoming crippling to you, I would encourage you to do two things. I would encourage you, to first, because I think social media can be a great thing that lifts us up also, I think that you should mute the accounts or unfollow the accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. But I also think that you should be introspective and you should look at, why do those things make me feel bad about myself? Because it can reveal a lot of desires. It can reveal a lot of pain points. I think it was Jenny Allen that said that I heard that jealousy is just masked desire. I think that there are a lot of ways that you can reveal what you want in your own life if you can look at what that comparison is making you feel. So, but if it is bad and if it's a negative influence on you, and if it's not enabling you to live your fullest life, you need to mute those accounts and remove that from what you're consuming all day, every day. Because naturally, we are people who have our phones in our hands all the time, and you are consuming that over and over and over. And the reality is that is infiltrating your brain, and it is changing your life and the way that you're living in it. So I would say that. And also, I would encourage you to follow people that make you feel good about yourself, that inspire you, that it's not so much comparison, but it's inspiration, that inspire you to be a better person. If there's someone that has a lot of good ideas about how to entertain toddlers, that makes you feel like a good mom when you implement those things in your life. Or if you want to go on a health journey and there's a nutritionist that is talking about blood sugar and giving you recipe ideas, and then you cook that recipe for your family and you feel really good about yourself, I think that those types of people can really become positive impacts and can help you live fully in your life. So reframing that and removing those things that are causing you to compare in a negative way is the advice that I would give there. Okay. What is something that you look forward to in life as you get older, or just in life in general, besides kids? I'm going to end on this question because I think that this encompasses a lot of what I talk about with living fully, and a lot of what I'm very passionate about and talk about over and over, because I really want people to hear me say, is that life can really be so wonderful if you allow life to be that for you. If you don't live your life in active addiction, if you don't live your life stuck in dead-end relationships, if you choose to reassess your life and remove the things that aren't working for you and strive for a better life, life can be so amazing. And the journey of life can be, of course, full of its ups and downs, but the highs can be so much higher. And I look forward to every day of my life, even the days that include the hardest rock bottom moments, because I know how to get through those things, because I've been through them before, and because I choose to continue to strive for a full life despite the things that will inevitably happen to me in my life. And I also choose to continue to remove the things that don't work, because I will choose until the very last breath of my life to live a full life, to live fully, to be to experience the most joy that I can in life. And I believe very much so that to experience the maximum amount of joy and happiness and just pure goodness of life, you have to walk through the hard things. You cannot numb those things out. You cannot ignore those things, and you can't pretend that they're not happening. So I look forward to so much as I get older. I look forward to, like I opened the podcast with, my relationship with my husband, seeing who my kids turn out, seeing what my business has become. But I also just look forward to just living life, the simple in between moments of life that I love so much, like planting a flower garden and growing vegetables and making sourdough bread and getting to know my neighbors, and my walk in my faith and in our community. I look forward to life on life's terms and whatever life brings me, because I know that I can handle whatever comes my way. And I hope that the Living Fully podcast helps you guys to not only hear like my own journey with just living life and figuring it out as I go, but I hope that it helps you in some way. I hope that one of these questions has helped you to be a better mom or partner, or sparked something in you that maybe you need to work through or think about, because that's what I want this podcast to be for you guys. And I hope that in answering some of your specific questions, that it has been that for you guys today, because your questions have helped me spark things and think about things in my own life. So thank you guys for submitting questions and listening to the Living Fully podcast and being part of this episode. So thanks again, and tune in next week for more.